Good afternoon, Patriots. And welcome to another edition of Occam's Patriots. Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio once again is my co-host, M3. And we've got a really special show planned for you guys. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. I know that I am. Do me a favor, don't forget to like and share this broadcast. Help us break through the algorithm. It only takes a second. Turn that thumb blue, click share, boom, it's on your favorite social media platform. Thank you to the mods for keeping everything comfy. I see Jojo K, Real Red Pill 78 Mom, Leslie Berger, I know Wheezy Girl's out there, and I know that Real Red Pill Girlfriend is watching as well. Hog, what's up? That's right, Karma Coming. It's a guess. Especially in Portlandia. Do me a favor, guys. Sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a very brief word from our sponsor. This right now is usually the time of year we see campers out in full force. Nearly all travel plans had to be canceled. The good news is, though, that lockdowns are starting to lift. People are restarting their camping and travel plans, and if you intend on going outdoors this summer, I want to tell you about a device you're not going to regret having on you. A revolutionary device for campers called the Solar Water Heater. The Solar Water Heater is a portable tube that looks like a normal water bottle, and no electricity required because the solar panels on the side of the water heater ensure that all you need is sunlight to stay charged. As an added bonus, exclusive for my listeners, they are giving away the next 100 solar water heaters for 15% off. Once the first 100 are sold, they will go back to the regular price. So, as an added bonus, you'll get insured express shipping if you go to solarwaterheater.com or go to the link in the description or pinned comment. Don't wait for a crisis to happen to wish you had a solar water heater. And remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. Thank you so much to the Solar Water Heater. I just want to show you guys what this thing looks like. It is pretty sweet. Look, you fill it up with water, you sit it out in the sun. Within 30 minutes, you got boiling water. It is way quicker than starting a fire, especially if it's damp out. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate you showing up. Thank you, Methods, once again, for being with us as well. How are you, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. Still marked safe from the Twitter purge.
That's right. Me too.
You know, press F, everybody in the chat, for the fallen soldiers that we've had so far. But, yeah, so far, so good. Looking forward to another Occam's Razor. Hope everybody's doing well.
I am too. Now, Barbara Westphal, I don't know if this was you on Tuesday that sent it, but somebody else did as well, that Governor Whitmer in Michigan just defunded the police and prisons. Maybe I read it on Twitter, but I know that I have heard this before. I personally haven't seen any news on this, but maybe this is something we can investigate live on the air today. Yeah, F for all the fallen soldiers. The number has gone far over 7,000 at this point. 7,000 was just the number of accounts they had deleted at the time that article came out. Since then, I have seen many other accounts lose their digital life. Yeah, several people that I knew, and something tells me that we'll find a workaround. We'll find a workaround. But as far as I am concerned, Methods, I am also safe. Yesterday in the video, I shared a link to that shadowban.eu site, and I don't know about you. I don't know if you've had a chance to check yet, but I mean, I previously was shadow banned. I had like a ghost ban. I had like a search suggestion ban, and then people would have to say that they wanted to see my tweets or my replies and actually tell Twitter that and then click it. But as of like yesterday or 2 days ago when the story came out, like all of my my shadow banning was gone. Like I was completely unrestricted. Have you checked yours?
I had somebody, I can't remember who, so I apologize if they're listening. They sent me a screen cap of it, and I had all green light. Like, I mean, it seemed fine. And I have people asking me what's the secret. I really don't have one. I mean, I try to stay away from certain keywords, and I've always tried to do that. And I try to go with things that are actually, you know, you can sauce it. So if they're going back and combing through people's tweets and there's just like bold-faced claims that are more speculation at best, I don't know. To me, this whole thing that the Twitter account put out gave them a blanket, you know, okay, go ahead to go after all of us. So like I said, every day that I get on and I'm still allowed to do things on Twitter is a blessing, but we all knew this was coming, right? Like we've been talking about this for a while, that getting closer to the election, you know, we'll all be surprised to have any platform at all.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and people have often asked me what my secret is, and I am very open about how I behave online. I think that anybody who watches the show can probably tell you, like, the top 3 things that I do. First of all, I don't engage people on the left. Second of all, I don't attack people without having information that I can sauce. And third, I just try to be polite and nice to everybody. And by following all of those things, I have never been suspended. I've never had my account restricted in any overt way besides the shadow banning, which they were apparently not doing. But, you know, I mean, I believe that we should be able to have a conversation. I should be able to make an argument, and I should be able to sway you using my logic and reasoning. And if I can't do that, then, you know, maybe there's something going on that you need to work on. Or perhaps I need to work on a better argument. But so far, it's worked out really well. It was really interesting. Somebody in the comments on the video yesterday said, my initial reaction was anger that you were able to get away with this for so long. And then I realized, I think they just realized that they were being silly, and that like I wasn't doing anything but being sensible. So, you know, they're going to try it now too. But I mean, this is something that we've always told people to do, you know? I mean, if you go and attack somebody who's likely to report you, there's a really good chance that they're going to report you, and then that's going to be it. Now, Epic Trilogy says YouTube won't let me link your channel in comments and non-lives. Yes, Epic Trilogy, I actually have URLs turned off in the comments and in the chat, and I apologize for that, but that's because every time we turned it on here, we would be spammed with prawn bots. Just, you know, rearrange those letters. And there's no way to stop it. I thought that it would stop or end at some point, but literally without fail, if I turn on URLs in the comments or in the live stream, immediately it's all kinds of XXX stuff, and we want to stay away from that. It's a family show. So if you want to link a URL in a comment or here in the chat, then you just need to separate the domain from the extension. So you just put a space in between them. I do ask that people refrain from putting personal information in the chat, because you never know who is going to be watching. You never know if there's going to be somebody out there who wishes to do you some ill will. And I certainly don't want my shows to be a cause of anybody being attacked or being hurt physically in any manner. So if you guys want to get a hold of each other, Twitter handles are fine. Do Twitter handles, you know, or Parler handles even, Parler handles. But don't be giving out emails and stuff, because people can use that to track you, and I don't want that to happen. The F was for the fallen soldiers, Amanda O'Brien, the fallen soldiers. We are not voting. If it was up to us, we would have voted for these people's lives to remain online. Let me see. Okay, so Epic Trilogy says this was on another channel's regular video comment section. So Space Shot, I would imagine Space Shot probably has URLs turned off as well. I know that a good number of YouTubers, and especially people like in our segment, which are going to be prone to have attacks such as that, they're going to have the URL option turned off in the comments. So just, like I said, always just separate it. If I'm going to post something in somebody else's channel, I separate it. And then, I'll be honest, there are some people who don't want you posting video links to other people's channels because it's tantamount to advertising on somebody else's channel, and maybe they don't want to be associated directly with anybody else. I've definitely heard that before.
Yeah, it's happened. And just real quick on this going on, because accounts are getting taken down, people are moving and making new accounts on Parler, stuff like that. I've seen this spread around that both iPod and X22, you know, friends of the channel here, have people that are apparently going by their names on Parler. So there is,
wow.
and I know at least iPod has been asking this person to take it down, and they won't. It's causing a lot of conflict to them. So they have the actual links on their Twitter pages. So if you go to iPod or X22's Twitter, they've been talking about it. Just make sure you're following the right people when you shift to a different platform.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of accounts getting taken down. I imagine it's just going to keep getting worse and worse. Now, as far as I guess for Red Pill and I, we have the privilege here that we have this channel to be able to verify anything else we do. So if our accounts were to go down, anything like that, we'll say it here. We'll also probably put it on Parler. We both have Parler accounts.
Yeah.
Mine's just at Methods, with the E3 on there. So we're going to still be able to do this thing. And if they start taking us down to where we can't talk on any of those kind of platforms in text format, I'll do way more shows myself. We have our show starting next week. Me and Scott from Woke Societies, we're planning on starting next week on Wednesday. It'll be 3 p.m. Eastern, and we're pretty excited about that. But if they were to take me off Twitter entirely, just make it impossible, I'd still go under other names. I have other accounts that people don't know about, but I would probably do way more on that channel than just one show a week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and people are mentioning clone channels. I get people like telling me that they saw a video and, it's on somebody else's channel. Like, I'm just going to ask everyone out there, please, if you want to use maybe like a short segment of one of my videos and then link to my original video and tell people to go watch the whole video on my channel, I would really appreciate that. But please do not upload full unedited copies of my videos on your channel. I mean, it dilutes the message. I want people to come to my channel because this is where I'm creating content. But I mean, I realize that there are people who want to make like a tribute video or something like that. Use a short segment because maybe perhaps they think it's very moving. Just do me a favor, always link back to my original video, and I won't go after you for copyright. But if you upload a full unedited video and take views away from the channel, then I am going to ask you to take it down specifically. But I will never file an out and out copyright strike. I feel like that is one of the lowest things you can do, because that happens 3 times and then somebody's channel is taken away forever. There is etiquette here on this platform, or there is etiquette that I feel should be followed, certain rules of decorum, if you will. And go ahead and take that out. So yes, X22 has X22 Spotlight. He has his regular X22 channel. I almost think that there is a third X22 that is official, but maybe not. I can tell you for certain that X22 and X22 Spotlight are his. Oh, my girlfriend is here, real red pill girlfriend. Thank you, honey. I love you, and this is all for you. This is all for you.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Let's get to the first story of the day, man.
We can do that. Sorry for the banter. So you guys, this is really good news. This is really, really good news. A federal judge today is going through the docket of cases attached to the Ghislaine Maxwell case, item by item, and deciding which ones should be released to the public. So there is essentially a D-class of Maxwell evidence taking place. And how many, did you say, Methods, how many pieces of evidence are in there? Not documents, but the individual, like, segments of evidence.
Oh, I don't know how many. They could be hundreds individually, but there's roughly 80 documents. So each document can be hundreds of pages, hundreds of whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. But this is specifically coming from the settlement with that she did with Virginia Roberts on the 2015 defamation lawsuit. Mm-hmm. So this judge, from what we can tell, is, on her own personal, like, holy war to get this stuff released, right? She wants to have this information in the public, but, they have to, when people are named in any of this stuff, and we went through this with the Epstein documents last year, when they have names in there, they have to let people know that it's going to be released. Mm-hmm. So it's a big process. So what we've gotten from this is that anything that gets released is going to probably be redacted as far as names, or at least some of them in the beginning. But as they can go through and get the approvals and get all that stuff to protect people's rights and whatnot, they're going to be releasing it in full.
Looks like we're having some chat issues. I saw multiple people in the chat saying their chat was frozen, and I noticed that mine wasn't moving on here either, so I just refreshed it. Okay, that's a little bit better. So there's roughly 80 documents, and just one of those documents includes a 418-page deposition, which was 7 hours that Maxwell gave in 2016. So that just gives you an idea of like the totality of the amount of information that's included there. I would imagine just the deposition itself, going through that is probably going to require at least a couple of days anyways. It also has the flight logs and police reports from Florida from 2007 when Jeffrey pled guilty to that reduced sentence, and he was able to spend 13 months going and playing in the Palm Beach sunshine and surf, and then spending the night in what was probably a memory foam bed inside of the Palm Beach County Jail, which is the nicest jail you'll ever want to be in. He also had his own wing, perfect private wing. So the lawyers are arguing against it because they're saying that the unsealing of the documents could jeopardize the criminal case that she's currently in and expose many non-parties. Well, if you are a non-party to any crime, then what's the big deal? You know, you didn't know Maxwell was a terrible person or that she was committing these despicable crimes with her partner in crime. I would want to come out and say, you know what? I disavow Ghislaine Maxwell. I wish her the best, but I disavow Ghislaine Maxwell. But something tells me that all of the names that are going to be included in here are people who are actual parties to criminal acts. And by having their information released, it could very well indicate their criminal culpability in the current set of crimes that Ghislaine Maxwell is charged with. This is going to be quite the day, and every day from here on out, I think we might be getting little tidbits of this this Maxwell case here. So the portion of the testimony was among some 2,000 documents unsealed. Oh, that was from last year. Sorry, 2,000 documents unsealed last year. Which I've never actually gotten like a really good look at. Methods. Do you know anybody who's done like a super deep dive on all of those 2,000 unsealed documents?
Well, yeah, when they got dropped, they were all taken apart and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've seen plenty of screen caps from it. Just real quick, Anon Mojo in the chat is asking for us to drop the link to the documents. Well, as of now, the reports are saying that it's going to be about a week, within a week before they release any of the documents that they agreed to in court today for them to be released. When that happens, we'll either cover it here on Occam's Razor, and of course, Red Pill will probably put it in his evening shows.
Yes.
So we're waiting on those, but as of now, she's ruled on them to start the declassification process.
All right, I did just drop the link to the article because that's all that there is right now. Char Sui says, where is Maxwell's mugshot? Well, sometime before Maxwell was arrested, the state of New York stopped publishing mugshots, and they stopped publishing the booking photos. So there is reason to believe that that's why we're not seeing any mugshots, because there are no other mugshots of any other arrestees after the time that they stopped publishing them. I saw an interview with, I believe it was a sheriff in the state of New York, and he was talking about how the impact of publishing those mugshots could potentially poison jury pools, and they wanted to allow people to be innocent until proven guilty. I believe once people are convicted, then they're going ahead and releasing those mugshots. But I don't know how much convicting the state of New York is doing right now. I mean, it seems like they're just all about like the catch and release type thing.
Right. But I mean, we'll see how this plays out. At least things are still moving forward. Documents are, still on their way. And as I understand it, there's a couple articles I read about this. And apparently these documents that the judge is working on right now is what Ghislaine was really fighting to not have out there. So, on our side, when we hear that kind of thing, we really want to have them. I want to read what they don't want us to read pretty much always.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out. But, we're just one step closer with a judge that actually wants the public to know what's going on.
So somebody said, wasn't she arrested in New Hampshire? She was arrested in New Hampshire, but under a warrant in the Southern District of New York. So there is a website here for New Hampshire mugshots. I'll go ahead and throw it in there, and if maybe you guys can find something that we haven't. But there you go. Go ahead and check it out. Let me see. What else do we have up here? So we've also... Oh, this is crazy. So Twitter now, they're looking at a subscription-based service in order to limit probably people who see certain tweets. So let's say that rich people want to use Twitter people who might be culpable in certain activities. And, maybe by subscribing, they can make sure that their tweets only go out to approved users. Or maybe people like us will subscribe so that we can see the tweets of the rich and famous. Methods, have you heard anything about the actual scheme behind this? What exactly they're looking to do?
Well, apparently they had Dorsey on a conference, like press call today or something.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, they're looking at all the possibilities around doing a subscription-based thing, which my first thought from hearing that would be kind of like how Facebook will allow you to pay to have more of the people that are already your friends see your work. See whatever posts you make. So the thought in my head is like, they're going to try to do the same thing to monetize, which also lets me know that they're financially going down the drain, and they need to look at making things financially better for them.
They've never been solvent. I don't think Twitter has ever been profitable.
Right. But I mean, that shows me that they're having problems, because when they had that hack, whether you want to believe it was one or not, didn't Twitter drop like 2 or 3 or 4%, something like that immediately when that went on? So to me, it's not surprising that they're discussing that, but that's kind of, to me, a signal that Twitter's just on its way down, because if you're going to have to start charging people aren't going to have it. What I saw people saying on Twitter about it was like, oh, you want me to pay for this platform? And they were laughing about it. Yeah. So, I mean, we use it only for the president. Imagine when he leaves, because I'm sure he's going to leave Twitter at some point. A lot of us are going to follow him. And that's, to me, I would love to get rid of Twitter. I don't really like the platform at all, but it's what we need to use during this time. So if they're going to start charging people, then they're not going to make it long.
So we know that there were many blue checkmark accounts that were targeted, but we didn't even plan on talking about this. But Methods, this just came out. But Twitter is confirming that the direct messages of 36 specific accounts were compromised in the hack. And I don't know that they have released them, but they're saying that 130 total accounts were targeted. 45 accounts had tweets sent by attackers, 36 accounts had the DM inbox accessed, and 8 accounts had an archive of your Twitter data downloaded. None of these are verified. Okay, only unverified accounts had Twitter data downloaded. That seems unlikely to me, but I feel like we're going to get more information. Jack Dorsey is scheduled to testify as early as Monday, right?
Well, they were already having a lot of the big tech, your Googles and stuff like that, to be on, I believe, Monday, come testify about the censorship and stuff going on. And I guess it might have been Jim Jordan that wrote it in there, but I guess the chat can let me know. He wrote a letter saying he wants Jack Dorsey there too. So I imagine he'll be there, because the letter was quoting something saying that they have the right, even though the Republicans are the minority, as this is happening in the House, they could still, bring in at least somebody, as I understand it. So hopefully Jack will be there, because I'd love to hear it. I think this will all be public. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, because they have to answer to a lot of the evidence and stuff that's been collected over the last few years of them censoring people. And they're putting them all side by side on the table, all the big tech. And it's going to be very eye-opening, because we already know the truth. We know what they've been doing, us as conservatives or whatever you want to call us. We have been censored. We all have saved our screen caps of when it happens.
Right.
So to have them now go in front of Congress, they're either going to bold-faced lie, plead ignorance, plead the fifth, or whatever the case, but we're going to know the truth going in.
Right. Now, TL Spud says, Parler notifications are ridiculous. I need to figure out how to cut those down. I'm going to tell you right now. When you follow somebody on Parler, it gives you the option to subscribe to them or just follow them. If you click subscribe, then you get a notification every time somebody posts something. And if you just followed 1,000 people and you click subscribe in every single one, your notifications are going to be filled up and out of control. So what you need to do is go through each of those people and unsubscribe, but still follow them. Unless you want to get notifications every time somebody, tags you, or I guess I haven't seen how the scheme works if people are like tagging your handle or doing that kind of thing. But like I've said before, I just have all of my notifications turned off, because if I didn't, then my phone would die within an hour, probably.
Well, I know on Parler, the notifications, I'll agree with the comment here, is garbage. I've had problems with that, to where I'll click and look at all the notifications, scroll to the top, and then it'll tell me I've read them all. I'll refresh, and then it doesn't give me any more. But I see, upvotes or whatever they call them over there going on. So I do agree. They got some, kinks to work out when it comes to their system, but it's at least we've got a place where, like I said earlier, we can verify anything we do or anything that happens over there, because there are going to be more people trying to LARP his other accounts as they get taken down. We've seen it every time.
Yeah, it's inevitable. I just need to say thank you to Chris Anderson. Thank you very much. Says keep up the great work. Shout out to Lozoot from Patton, Pennsylvania. I don't know if Lozoot is your name or if you are giving them a shout out, but in the interest of erring on the side of caution, I will just say shout out to Lozoot. Thank you very much. Also, Gafferanon says he sent me a Proton mail about a Rife interview. We were just talking about Rife machines the other day on the stream. So yeah, and it's this place called Spooky 2. I subscribed to them. I think actually, Gaffer, you're the one who told me about them. So I went ahead and subscribed. I get notifications now from him in my email. And then also Kyle, Kyle said, for the Flynn banner, hidden Pepe and the G in God. This was great. I sent this to you earlier, Methods. And I completely forgot that I wanted to show it off. But I think this is really cool. I absolutely just love what General Flynn is doing. Let me switch it over here, guys. I don't know that you're going to be able to see it, but right here inside the G, there is a hidden Pepe the Frog. The opacity is really low, but you can see his eyes right there, and there's his mouth, and there's his head. There's his body, but it's not too clear, but it's clear enough that an Anon can make it out if they're looking for it. So that's really all I wanted to say about that. But God bless you, General Flynn. Love it, absolutely love it. All right, let's see. So that's another article about the Epstein case. Okay, so the show is called Let's Get Gassed. That was an Austin Powers reference, and I know that a couple people got it because they said it. So, let's get gassed, baby, yeah. But then we switch over to Portland, Oregon, where unfortunately it's a real live event. People are getting tear gassed. We are into the mid 50s, maybe 55, 56 days of social unrest there in Portland, and the mayor of Portland came out to participate in these peaceful protests. Methods, did you send me a video of the Portland mayor?
I didn't have the video handy. I've just got the article from John Solomon, from Just the News. It was written by Sophie Mann. But yeah, definitely a funny situation.
Yeah, so he's walking through this throng of people, and he's so naive. He thinks he's going to go there. He's going to be welcomed with open arms. Remember the mayor in Minneapolis where, he said that he didn't support defunding the police, and they booed him out of there. They kicked him out of the protest, and he just hung his head, put up his mask, and just walked
He's
away.
The one that looks like a Starbucks barista, right?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. So the same kind of thing happened to the Portland mayor. He's walking along, and he's got six guys around him, and everybody is checking their six. Just they're totally freaked out because the crowd is not happy. They are not happy with him, despite the fact that he is allowing all of this to happen. He had that message for President Trump and the federal police who were trying to protect the courthouse. Told them to get out of there. So he's walking through this area trying to participate, and he's getting bottles of water thrown at him. He's just gotten straight water tossed at him. And, this is coming after the people who are in this protest. They actually breached the doors of the federal courthouse there the other day. It's getting to be a very delicate situation. Because, in my opinion, I think we've reached the point where, they've completely failed at law and order in Portland and in many other cities. I think it's time to do something about it. That's just me. Methods, what do you think about it?
I totally agree with you on all that. I'm looking, somebody in the chat mentioned that Gateway Pundit's got the actual clip. So I was over there looking, but there is a bunch of video clips over on Jim Hoff's Twitter, just at Gateway Pundit for anybody. He's a great follow. Jim's a good guy. Yeah. He's got clips of how that mayor has security guards all around him during all that. So how hypocritical is it for them to be doing that stuff? So yeah, I'm just looking for the clip if there's actually one of him being hit in real time with the gas or whatever. But Yeah, it's such a mess when you try to go out there and, yeah, I'm one of the people, I'm going to go do this stuff. And then, you've got
Just a
security
normal guy.
around you. Yeah, right. They don't even know how to act normal, which is pretty funny to me to see them kind of think they understand the public, but it's so far off base that they've just been in that bubble and stuff, and they think so highly of themselves. They're like, oh, let me go out there with the quote unquote real people of society, when they're definitely, fish out of water type stuff.
Yeah, and then the title of the show, he gets gassed along with all of the protesters because he's trying to be a cool guy and hang out in the middle. Somebody in the chat asked if a barista is a liberal snowflake. I mean, not by definition. I think many of them are, though, because those are people who make coffee for you at Starbucks. That's a barista. So, yeah, there are many different clips of Wheeler. I guess his last name's Wheeler, Mayor Wheeler, Ted Wheeler. Many clips of him in the midst of all the chaos. Many clips of him being engulfed in a cloud of noxious gas. But
I got the article. I'll send it over to you and drop it in the chat. And thanks again to the person in the chat that brought it up. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've got this article right here has a ton of different clips and stuff, because everybody's probably seen that clip now of the video of them trying to set things on fire by the fence. Well, they're showing all the angles that he was there when it was happening. So he's literally was watching all this stuff go on.
He's an active participant at this point. I mean,
right.
Where is law and order?
Right. Which kind of, I guess we don't have anything pulled up for this, but I know that we wanted to talk about it. We could kind of segue or at least refer to what Trump was saying yesterday when he did his law and order press conference. I don't know. Did you catch that press conference?
No, but that was definitely a tee up for you.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, I caught it. I caught a majority of it. And basically what Trump was saying is, everything that we've been talking about when it comes to these Democrat-run cities, allowing this chaos to go on, but then they turn around and not, basically smack away the hand of the government and Trump, who are offering to come help. Trump's platform's always been about the states need to take care of themselves on the state level, but they're there to help about anything. So Trump basically announced yesterday that they are already sending, DHS, federal, basically, help to Chicago, which is very interesting. If you think about all the stuff that goes on in Chicago, the cesspool that is Chicago, think about the former president that came from Chicago, that kind of stuff. I'm not at all surprised, but it is intriguing that they're sending out, enforcement basically to Chicago. But he also slipped in, because this has to do with Operation Legend, which they did. And I can't remember which state. Was it Missouri? I can't remember where they went recently with Operation Legend. If anybody in the chat, if you can help me, I'm just forgetting. But they said that they're going to, like, Chicago's, not the only place that they're going. They're sending them to multiple states to help out. So we saw this coming. Kansas City, yeah. So to me, I know we talk about we need to have certain, help in place, whether it's National Guard, some kind of troops in certain states when things kind of hit the fan. That's kind of setting up the stage for that, don't you think? I'm not trying to sit here and say, all right, this is it, it's happening. But it's been justified to even the people of these Democrat-led states that they need help from the government. Right.
Yeah,
so we're about to have these people put in there to help out. To me, it's like, okay, it's pretty good timing with August is going to be hot.
Yes, it definitely gives us a plausible reason to have troops on the street working to restore law and order and kind of doing the job that either the local government won't allow the police to do, or maybe that the police themselves are not willing to do as a result of the way that they've been treated by that local government. So yeah, if this is the way that it happens, I am all for it. I can't think of a better reason to have them there. The only thing is that, we had to wait for there to be a plausible reason for it to happen, because if President Trump would have just sent National Guard or federal police into it, wherever it is that they're going, and I need to make sure. So this is who is actually being sent out. We've had 200 arrests. Operation Legend. I would imagine it's going to be the National Guard that they're going to have to be sending out if they're going to be, trying to restore law and order in these places. But you can't just send a bunch of shock troops out to every major Democratic city in the country. Otherwise, you are going to look like a dictator. And he runs the risk of playing into what the left is trying to do in terms of characterizing him. They want to characterize him as some type of a despot, some type of, a fascista. But President Trump has been really good at not allowing that to happen. He has forced these Democrat leaders in all of these various areas to allow their own cities to plunge into abject chaos. It is incredible. Some Angel Morphin says it's not the National Guard. Okay, so I'm trying to determine who exactly is it that they're sending out for Operation Legend. Well, 200. Okay. So it's a variety of federal agencies. 225 federal agents from the FBI, DEA, Marshal Service, and ATF are expected to join 400 agents already working and living in the metro area. That is only in Kansas City. So, the expansion of it into Chicago, I would imagine they're probably going to need more than that. They're going to need more than the numbers that they have in Kansas City, because Kansas City is kind of a Wild West war zone at this point, but Chicago is really off the chain. It's a completely different situation there. But they're justifying it here in this Fox News article. They're asking, is it constitutional for federal agents to deploy to Chicago? And the fact of the matter is that it is. Unfortunately, the necessity is because there has been a breakdown in law and order. There's been a breakdown in the normal chain of peacekeeping, and there are many crimes that are being committed that can be prosecuted under federal jurisdiction. So even though the states have the burden to go ahead and be taking care of that stuff, if they're choosing not to, then the federal government has no choice but to step in and take care of it.
Right, and so we had the presser yesterday with Trump, and AG Barr was there, Ray was there, Wolf, the acting guy with the DHS, was there. DHS. Yes, and then right after that, the Beetlejuice, the mayor from Chicago, did her own presser and was saying that she wasn't going to allow this to happen. All these things, basically, just trying to, show some type of force, was even calling on the public to call 911 or any of the other numbers to, basically
report the feds.
Report them if they see anything suspect, which basically is kind of like, all right, keep an eye on them, type of thing. But then there was also reports that came out that last night, I believe, or maybe early this morning, but I think it was last night, Trump got on the phone with the mayor, Lightfoot, and they discussed it, and she agreed to the terms that Trump proposed to have these agents go in. So there's all this saving face stuff to be a Democrat, whether they're, maybe I don't know if she's up for election, I guess, this year, I don't know, or re-election, but they definitely made the agreement because her big thing was she still wanted to have control of the situation, which technically that would be the case when it comes to the state attorney general. So they've agreed that this attorney general, I believe, will be the one that's kind of overseeing what they're doing, but it's kind of, it's showing government working with local state, which is good. Right.
Yes.
And that's how it should be, even though we don't, we're so quote unquote divided right now that you would just assume that we just need to go in and fix it and not listen to them. But if there's a peaceful way to go about it and still handle what needs to get handled, by all means, I'm all for it, even if it's Democrat, Republican, whatever.
Let's see. Southern Prairie Homestead says 100% unconstitutional to send even Border Patrol into the states. Trump would have to be asked or issue the Insurrection Act. So are you telling me that it's not a good enough reason that there is massive gun violence? There are, definitely people committing federal felonies in these cities. There's all kinds of stuff happening that would be the jurisdiction of the FBI or the ATF or the DEA. I think that when a crime is committed, it's not commonplace for the FBI to ask if they can come in and investigate if it's a crime that would fall under their purview. If they were going in and just taking over and telling the local PD to step aside, saying that, we're in charge now, I think that would definitely be unconstitutional. But I'm pretty certain that if there are crimes that are being committed that the local law enforcement is just either unable or unwilling to go ahead and pick up the slack on, it makes sense to me that they would send in these federal agencies who could focus on these specific tasks at hand And keeping in mind, it's not a blanket send out. I mean, they're not going just anywhere. They're going where the crime is the worst, where the people are under like the greatest possible duress and danger. So, I've got this article pulled up from Fox News talking about it. Let's see. It says that Judge Napolitano is talking about it. If the state or local officials consent to the introduction of federal assets on the streets and for law enforcement purposes, there is no constitutional impediment. But if they don't consent, there is a constitutional impediment. So, like Methods was saying, behind the scenes, Lori Lightfoot is saying, yes, go ahead and come here. These are the terms. Now, President Trump isn't telling these people, guess what? We're coming in. If you don't like it, you can go ahead and shove it. He didn't have to call her. I mean, he could have just called the Insurrection Act and boom, it's a go. But I would imagine that in Kansas City, he probably had conversations with people behind the scenes as well. But it's all about optics with these people. They've got to come out publicly and say, President Trump is terrible. And if you see anybody doing anything wrong, call anything. But they're certainly not going to admit, like, you know what, we got things out of hand here. And I'm going to go ahead and tell President Trump that it's okay to have these people come in.
Right. And as I understand it, Kansas City agreed to it. They actually were okay with having them come through.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad, definitely, as dealing with, Chicago, Portland, and all this stuff going on. But just real quick, I see about 4,500 people here hanging out with us, which is really awesome. Thank you guys for spending time with us.
Mm-hmm.
I have 1.7 thousand likes that I'm seeing, but I've also refreshed my page multiple times, and I'm not even allowed to see the chat. I see a monkey with a hammer saying, sorry, something went wrong.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's all I've got. So I'm sorry, chat. Love you guys. I'm not allowed to see you right now. I'll keep refreshing. Hopefully we'll get there. But if you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be great. And thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal, Cash App, all that good stuff.
Ooh, American Eskimoniac says that Senator Duckworth leaked that feds are also going after human traffickers in Chicago. See Carly Q video there, so feds are doing more. Okay, so if they have ongoing investigations that lead to different places, then yeah, they are definitely going to be working on things. I would imagine that the human trafficking aspect is different from the Operation Legend aspect that's happening right now. So there's a lot of different things at play here, you guys. This is one of those things that we've said on a number of occasions. Just because we don't have the public information, just because we don't know that ongoing investigations, sometimes that take years, are happening behind the scenes, doesn't mean they're not taking place. Generally, we don't hear about something until it's already been taken care of. And the reason that is because they don't want to jeopardize that ongoing investigation for a number of different reasons. So let's see. There was a story, Methods, that I just sent to you that I really wanted to talk about. I had neglected to mention it in the pre-show. But there was this really disgusting display. There was an event happening. People were on the sidewalk. They had signs in support of our president, in support of our flag, in support of this country and its citizens, and a general pro-Trump rally. But this woman in uniform, she's in the Navy apparently. She's a uniformed sailor. Her name is Sarah Dudry. I'm only saying that because her name has already been made public. She stopped her car in the middle of traffic, and she got out and she starts screaming at these people. They weren't screaming at her. They weren't attacking her. All they were doing was showing solidarity for our president and for our country. And she starts flipping them the bird. She's going around saying F you, F Trump. It was really, really disgusting. And it wasn't like, a minor thing. It didn't happen quickly. She made sure she went around and got up into the face of every single person that was within walking distance. Now, she's actually under investigation now. Let's see. Full information. Aviation boatswain's mate, second class Sarah J. Dudry. And of course, we know that Sarah took an oath to support the Constitution and for the president and the country. So by her walking around and giving, that very candid display to all of those people, denigrating our flag, denigrating our country, denigrating that uniform that she was wearing, it really angered a lot of people. Now, I wouldn't want to play this video for you guys because there's a lot of profanity in it. the way that she acted, it was really, really awful. So I'm going to put the link in there. You guys can check it out. But Methods, did you have the opportunity to see this, what she did?
Oh yeah, no. As soon as whoever uploaded it on Twitter, I can't remember who
Jonathan
did it first. Yeah, as soon as it was put out there, it took off like a wildfire because that is disgusting. You know, Trump's your commander in chief, right?
That's right.
You know, she's literally saying, "I'm not going to do anything he says," and forget anybody that's supporting him. And that you join the military. It is what it is. How many people still followed orders under previous presidents they didn't agree with, right? They still did what they, swore an oath to.
All throughout
and
history.
Even though, and we can argue that some people, some things were definitely not, like right to do. And I'm sure a lot of them, defected in a way when it comes to like wars in other countries and stuff of that nature. But this person right here didn't have to get out of their car. Mm-hmm. Didn't have to go over there and harass these people. And what's going through your head that you're like, I'm going to stop a car. I'm in uniform. People have cell phones with cameras on them and can stream in real time and get out there and go crazy. And you're one against 50 people there, maybe 40 people there during that. I mean, that to me is just like, that's how far we've gone here, how much they're manipulating people with this. Like TDS is real, mind control in this aspect. This technically is, right? Because we have so many mainstream media, the Democrats, all these people, different countries talking about how bad this Trump guy is when he hasn't hurt any of us, right? I can't think of anything he's done that's really hurt anybody. Now I can understand things like, cutting off immigration type things so we get it figured out, the border wall, any of those things going on. I can understand how it affects certain families in the immediate, but they were fixing things that needed to be fixed a long time ago. It should never been that way. So you have got this person coming out, jumping out of a car and literally harassing, and it's military doing this to you. I mean, we've seen a lot in 2020, but this is probably one of the most disgusting things so far, right?
Yeah, this really takes the cake. And I see many people in the chat saying that they smell a court-martial in her future, and I do too. She's very aggressive, very, very aggressive with these people. I'm playing it right now with the sound off. But yeah, it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the Navy. It's embarrassing to our country. I'm embarrassed for her. She clearly has some major problems, and she is under some incredible mind control. Like you said, this is really just one of the most disgusting displays that I've ever seen. We cannot afford to have people like this wearing a uniform. We can't afford to have people supposed to be protecting our country and instead harboring all of this deep-seated resentment for our commander-in-chief and for the flag, which represents, the great majesty of our country. We can't afford to have that, and I really, really do hope that the Navy takes some proper action against her. I think she should be stripped. I think it's more than just a court-martial. She needs to be discharged. It is too dangerous to have her wearing that uniform. Now, the U.S. Navy has responded. They've opened an investigation after they were made aware of the footage, and apparently it took place on Sunday, July 19th, about 1 p.m. She pulled up in a borrowed car, not even her car, parked illegally on the main street, blocked an entire lane, and got out. That's how important it was to her that she make sure everybody know how she felt about the most horrible man ever to walk the face of the earth. And again, I go back to the idea that these people are just completely clueless, okay? If she knew anything about history, if she knew anything about what President Trump was truly doing for this country, I can't imagine at all that she would behave in this manner. These people are sick in so many ways, and one of the things that I always like to remind myself is that I don't know how much of this is her fault. I mean, you said mind control, I said mind control. If she's been subjected to nothing but vicious lies ever since President Trump and Melania came down that escalator, I mean, how does she know any better? I mean, honestly, it's up to each of us to do the research and to make an informed decision and have a true idea about what's happening and the things that are going on. But, unfortunately, we are surrounded 365 days a year, 24/7, surrounded by propaganda. These people are doing everything they can to poison the well. And this is another reason why it's so important that come November, we ensure President Trump is reelected. Because a second term where he's fully able to unleash and the investigation of John Durham and anybody else in the DOJ that is investigating what's happened over the last couple of years, that's when that stuff's all going to finally come out. If Joe Biden is elected, and I just can't see a world where Joe Biden is elected, or if they try to steal the election and are successful to some degree, it's going to be disastrous for our country. I mean, we're going to be rounded up. I fully believe that. I was thinking about that earlier today. I mean, it's lights out, sayonara.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, they didn't empty out those Walmarts for nothing back in the day.
Yeah.
To me, when you see people like that on that video, and I mean, just in any other example that you could think of on these clips, or you see these rants and tweets that they're just, we call them so far gone or TDS and all that stuff. That's a product of an echo chamber. That's not just an isolated person that's by themselves feeling this way. You can typically, they have a group of people that are agreeing with them in real time, and then they read the media. They read the same companies. They have their favorite writers, the New York Times, WAPO, insert name here. Whoever decides to read Daily Beast, that blows my mind. But you've got that echo chamber to where it becomes reality. We talk about it, repeat a lie, long enough, it becomes reality to people. That's the kind of thing that we've been fighting against. And so just like you were saying, how, we'd expect to get rounded up. We've seen people say that when we get Joe Biden in office, when we get this orange man out of office, they're not just going to try to roll back what Trump did. I've seen open tweets about it by people even with bigger followings saying that it's going to be basically retaliation against all of us. They're going to come after us. So this vote right here, I know 2016 we talk about it as being like the most important election that's ever happened. It did kind of like help steer us away, from the cliff. But if we do not get this man back in office in 2020, I don't care, love him, hate him, don't like him, talking trash, he tweets too much, whatever, you have to show everybody in your circle why it's important to give this man 4 more years. Give us 4 more years. I know that our favorite anons referred to, there's a plan past Trump, but just take that out of your mind for a second. That gives us 4 more years to figure things out even further, because this evil didn't just show up because Trump got elected and people had their hearts hardened. This was going on for a long time. Evil, shallowness, pride, ego, insert whatever here, like that's been in this world. It just got exposed with Trump being president. And over the last few years, think about it. It wasn't this bad at all, even in the first year. It just, they get brought out into the light, and we have to handle this, right? We want the best for them, but at the end of the day, we got to make sure that we take the future generations in the right direction. So by all means, vote for Trump and get everybody to.
Please do. I need to say thank you to Charles Pixley. Charles sent me a donation on PayPal yesterday. Thank you, Charles. Also, Renee, Brittany, Emily, and William. That was yesterday and today. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate your generous donations to keep the channel afloat. There was also an interesting thing that happened earlier today. Bill Binney, former NSA agent Bill Binney, he did a live stream where he actually presented, and he's kind of done this before, but I don't know that he's done it in this way necessarily. But he's talked about the evidence for why the DNC hack was not done by Russia. But today he explicitly pointed to the existence of evidence that the clowns in America were involved. And you gotta see, this is something we've all considered. But I mean, did you happen to catch any of this methods? This was while I was doing some work around the house that this was on, and it was quite long.
Yeah, I caught his first segment of talking before they brought in other people for the panel. And he did kind of say a lot of what he's said before, but what I found interesting that he talked about that I guess I either forgot about or hadn't heard was that they had done testing with, other like quote hack groups in other countries to see how quickly they could move data from the US over. And they said the fastest speed that they were able to accomplish was 1/4 the speed of what actually happened.
That's right.
On these files. So to move it, there's no way. It would have to be downloaded. Now, I know this, a lot of this audience knows this. We're kind of, bringing up things that happened before. But Benny coming back and talking again is very important. And I was quite surprised that there wasn't a whole lot of people there watching. I had just found out about it because somebody had posted it, I think, on Occam. But yeah, now what was this clown stuff that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, he's just saying it that the clowns in America were implicated. But yeah, the gist of the information, and maybe I take it for granted that everybody knows this, but the speed with which the information was transferred from the DNC server over to whoever it was, or whatever group it was, supposedly was too fast to be sent through an internet connection. Okay, it could only have been transferred to a USB drive, which is something we've heard for a long time. Obviously Seth Rich, and then that famous USB drive that he was supposed to have. There's been a lot of people who have talked about that over the last couple of years, but. Let's see. I'm looking for the information of why he said that the clowns in America were implicated. This is a huge article, and it goes through the entire timeline, talking about Kim.com and Julian and WL. He even talked about why Flynn was targeted, talked about the Mueller investigation. There's also a great documentary that is included in this article that I sent you. But yeah, we're gonna have to actually watch the information on this. But I think that Benny just seems to think that because of the fact that somebody got access to the DNC server with a USB drive, it must have had something to do with the clowns in America. He does mention Seth, though, in the midst of this. Now, the press conference itself was quite long, and it's more just like a Zoom call with a couple of people who know something about government and intelligence. But definitely check it out. It was pretty interesting. There is a lot of information inside there. I just dropped the link again for anybody who didn't get it before. I'm going to drop it again. Oops, that one is bad. That last one.
I've been dropping it too. I was able to get back into the chat. But yeah, definitely go back and watch it, and especially find those segments that kind of explain these things, like what we're talking about or what the article talks about. And that's what you want to share with people that aren't aware of what happened. They're like, well, they'll say things, well, they got hacked and it was by Russia, but it wasn't connected to Trump. And that's what a lot of people on the left, at the very least, will take away from it. They still want to consider it as Russia. They had also said in the clip about Guccifer 2.0, and how they were able to figure out by looking at the data, and I'll just say, I guess in layman's terms, they looked at the data and it was being manipulated to make it look like it came from Russia. They could prove that. So I do believe that we're going to have this thing talked a little bit more on a public forum. Now, is that going to happen before the election? I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Red Pill? Do you think we're going to get into what happened in 2016 like that, up to like the October surprise that we keep talking about? Hey, you're muted, bud.
I said, I think we have to. I think we have to have that. There has to be a fundamental unraveling of this narrative that the DNC and the swamp have put forward, that Russia and WL hacked the DNC server, and then Trump may have had something to do with it, or even might have not, but definitely benefited as a result. That Seth was just a botched robbery. That there's all these different things that go along with that. And I think that if you can expose all of the pieces of that, then I think you have an opportunity to kind of change the minds of people on the left who are hanging on to those narratives. You know, President Trump, I mean, we know President Trump, we know his character, we understand the fundamentals of the narratives that are being spun and why they're being spun, but you've got all of these people who are still just completely brainwashed. I mean, they've got this, you know, like bubble over their heads, and they're like, Trump bad, and that's all that they can hear, that's all that they can say, and they won't listen to evidence. We have to have this exposed. I think that is going to be a major factor in, you know, bringing our country back together.
Oh, I totally agree. And anybody in the chat, anytime he does go mute, we'll blame it on Russia hacking. Yeah. And we'll just leave it at that. But no, I totally agree. I do think that it does need to come out. I think that we do need to have that conversation. And the fact that we know Durham's going back to how this all started, they blamed this DNC quote unquote hack at the beginning to kind of build this Russia investigation up. So it is definitely a part of it. So I do believe it is coming out. Now, I do want to mention this before we get too much further, Red Pill, kind of just segue out, because I know that we want to get into talking about, you want to talk about the China embassy stuff?
That's right.
And then I also want to make sure that we get into all these hit pieces that are coming out against this movement. Yes. I think it's very important to discuss that. But just to give everybody a heads up, Trump's going to be doing his press conference at 5 p.m. Eastern. You know, he's kind of taken over the Corona task force stuff going on. And then he's also going to be on Hannity tonight. So, you know, for anybody that can get through a Hannity show, if anything, let me know what happens. I don't know if I can do it. But you'll definitely have two opportunities to hear him today.
Okay. So I keep seeing people asking in the chat if they've been blocked or if the chat's messing. The chat is definitely messing up, you guys. Don't worry about putting it in the chat because everybody already knows, and I feel like we're just clogging up the chat with talking about why it doesn't work. Let's just put like comments about what we're talking about. So if you guys saw my video yesterday, the Chinese consulate general in Houston, Texas, was evicted by the State Department. This comes on the heels of the Chinese nationals being indicted for hacking and stealing American intellectual property, both technological and virological. Apparently, they were trying to get information on CV-19 research and vaccinations and stuff like that. Well, they indicted a couple of people, and then directly after that, the State Department has issued an eviction notice for the Chinese consulate in Houston, Texas. Now, after that eviction notice was given, reports came in that the people working there at the consulate were burning in the courtyard in the center of the consulate general. They were burning reams and reams of paper, all kinds of classified information. I can only imagine how much American intellectual property was inside all of that information, and how much information was in there in regards to their plan to, you know, slowly take over America and continue to steal the ingenuity from the American people. So there were many fires. The fire department was not allowed to come back in they were not allowed to enter at all, clearly because if they were, then, you know, they'd be able to get access to all of those documents. Once they're invited in, then, you know, it's all fair game. But you know, this is not uncommon for when countries have their embassies closed down, when countries are kicked out. They probably have a lot of information in the same way that the State Department is like the diplomatic wing of the clowns in America, if you will. You have these State Department embassies in many different countries all throughout the world, and they are essentially cover stories for Clowns in America agents to work and then spy in and around the countries where they are positioned. So you'll have like a Clowns in America chief of station will be operating out of there. Same kind of thing for each of these other countries that have embassies here in our countries. It's a legal way for us to be in the country and then, you know, engage in espionage. So the United States, right after they kicked out the Chinese consulate in Houston, they announced that in the San Francisco consulate, the FBI believes that China is harboring a military-linked biologist fugitive, a woman who came here as a biology researcher, but she lied on her visa. She said that she had never been in the military, that she didn't know anything about the military, the Chinese military. Her name is Tang Juan. She was a researcher at the University of California, probably there so that she could steal all of the research. That's basically what they do. Now, she had stated on her visa application she never served in the military. Open source investigations, however, revealed photographs of her in her uniform of the civilian cadre of the People's Liberation Army, and she had been employed as a researcher at the Air Force Military Medical University, which is another name for the 4th Military Medical University. And during an interview with the FBI on June 20th, she denied serving in the military, claimed she did not know the meaning of the insignia of her uniform, and that wearing a military uniform was required for attendance at that university because it was a military school. But they executed a search warrant, and they found additional evidence tying her to the People's Liberation Army. So now she's holed up inside the San Francisco consulate, and they are basically just waiting outside. Either she comes out and the FBI grabs her up, or she stays inside the consulate indefinitely. Now, one thing they could do would be to close down the Chinese consulate and then force everybody to come out, and then she's going to have to give herself up because, I don't believe they have tunnels that will, take them out to the, maybe they do, I don't know. Maybe they build tunnels straight down, not to China, but straight down and then out to the ocean where they have a sub waiting off the shores of the California coast.
Right, yeah. In my head, it was tunnels to China. But anyways, this is infiltration, not invasion, right? I mean, they were allowed in. They have the consulate here. They were allowed to be here working. It's considered, I guess it would be Chinese land, I guess, if you will. Because if we can't go in and pick this person up, then it has to do with some kind of red tape. It's not surprising, and I think that we're going to be seeing more of this, right? There's going to have to be some kind of cutting of ties like this to where we can't allow them in our countries. Because I was hearing reports that they were now talking, China in retaliation is talking about kicking us out of what we have over there. So it's going to happen that way, and we're going to end up picking up, we're going to be picking up, people from them on our side here in our country, and then vice versa. It's going to be a thing, but it needs to happen. We need those ties kind of cut.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is I just did that report a couple of days ago talking about this kind of escalation between the United States and China. And, there is an escalation down there in the South China Sea. We've got plenty of spy planes or drones that are flying around. We are seeing an uptick in the arrest of scientists who are here spying for the Chinese. Since the end of the year last year, there have been multiple ones that have been discovered and arrested. And, the thing that's scary is that this is par for the course. This is something they've been doing for a long time. And, it boggles the mind to imagine how much intellectual property they've stolen from America, and they've been able to just cherry pick from our military, and how blissfully unaware they were. I've heard many people with an understanding about the Chinese mainland philosophy towards things, is that they think differently about this stuff than we do as Westerners. We would assume people would act a certain way because that's how we act. However, they will act a completely different way, and it's very cutthroat, very cutthroat. Not to say that the Chinese people are, but people who are trained for this stuff, they don't care. They're going to come here, they're going to lie, they're going to do whatever it takes in order to get the mission done because it's at the behest of their military superiors. And it is a brutal regime. Make no mistake, it is a brutal regime.
Definitely. I don't really have much more to add, and I know we've only got about 20 minutes left. Do we also want to hit on the former congressman charged with ballot stuffing real quick?
Yeah.
And then get into that stuff? Okay, so yeah, we got this release from the Department of Justice that says former congressman charged with ballot stuffing, bribery, and obstruction. I'm going to drop this link in the chat for everybody. And yes, you guessed it, it's a Democrat. But yeah, what they're saying here is that the indictment was unsealed today, so it was one of those many sealed indictments that we have going on, that he was fraudulently stuffing the ballot boxes for specific candidates in 2014, 15, and 16 primary elections, bribery of an election official, falsification of records, voting more than once in federal elections, and obstruction of justice. But, in the words of Obama, you can't tamper with our elections, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, this is, again, in Pennsylvania, and I believe this is a different circumstance from the prior indictment that we got on the Pennsylvania judge that was working to tip the scales on the elections. So this goes to show a broader pattern of events which have been duplicated in a number of different areas. And I just want to, again, point to the fact that they are working on these things starting at the local level and then working their way up. So, we have seen just numerous conspiracy, bribery, corruption cases, election tampering, and it's going to continue to filter up, guys. And we're just making it as difficult as possible for these people to cheat come November 2020 so that we can be assured that we're going to have legitimate results. I do want to make a comment about President Trump's comment the other day with Chris Wallace. Chris Wallace asked him if he would accept the results of the election come November if he didn't win. And he said, we'll have to see. And, he was talking about knowing that people are cheating. Just because it says that the election turns out one way or the other, quite honestly, we can't necessarily trust that. There needs to be a full accounting of the votes. It needs to be verified and validated in order for us to be able to trust the results of any election. I will say this. The Dems are coming out hard on mail-in voting. I've gotten no fewer than 6 calls in the last 3 days, not only for myself, but for my daughter. And then somebody even visited the house. They know I'm a Republican, though, but they weren't calling for me. I don't know how, but so they came to the house looking to give information about mail-in ballots, and I told them to shove off. Every time I got a call, I said, take me off the list. Every time I got a text message, I didn't even mention the text messages. I've got many text messages wanting people people wanting to tell me that mail-in ballots are a safe and easy alternative to voting in person. And every single time I've told them I plan to vote in person. My daughter plans to vote in person. You don't have to come here again. We're going to vote in person. And I think that is the most important thing we can do. We have to show that we don't have any fear about this situation. We got to go to these polls and we got to get validation that we cast our vote and then our vote is going to be counted. And I'm hoping that President Trump is going to introduce a federal voter ID before the election. It's getting down to the point where it's going to have to happen.
Right, and to that point, and where I saw it kind of being championed as Julian's Rum on Twitter, he was talking about how with Trump saying, hey, I wear a mask, if you're around these people, I suggest we ask you to. But, friendly reminder, he didn't say we had to. It's not mandated. But he's saying like he's suggesting it and stuff. It is playing into the voter ID thing because like Julian's Rum's pointing out, well, if we're going to have masks. If masks work, then we can go vote in person.
Exactly.
But if we've got masks on going to vote in person, we need voter ID. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think that's brilliant. Now, is that how it's going to play out? I don't know. We've just got a few months here before, we're really getting into voting stuff. But it is a good point to be made that if we're going to have to wear masks, if people agree to it, and say, hey, it's not that, not that big of a deal. You're not going to get it if you wear the mask, then, yeah, I like how that would play out for sure. Now, I've had a few people in the chat, not to really segue away from this too much, ask about my channel and what I'm going to be doing with Scott. So I'm going to drop my link to my account in the chat for you guys. It's just, methods, youtube.com/c/methods. And we'll be starting next Wednesday as long as we can get everything going smoothly. But as of now, it looks like we should be.
All right. And there's another point I want to make on the mask issue. Every time the president suggests or champions anything, the press comes out in droves against him. So now President Trump is saying, go ahead and wear masks. It's a good idea. Is the press going to say that it's a bad idea? Are they going to expose it as something that doesn't work? I don't know, but I don't expect the press to go along with the president and be happy about it. I tend to think that they're going to attack him because he's saying that, you know, it could be a good idea now. But the fact is that it is not mandated. We are not being forced. And, you know, I've started, I had to go out a couple of times over the last couple of days, and I didn't wear a mask anywhere that I went. And I got some looks, and I know that I have seen signs that said I'm not allowed in here without a mask. But I also know that as I have a pre-existing lung condition, it is okay. I have an exemption. So we'll see, guys. We'll see if I get arrested and I have a ticket or something like that. I don't know if there's bail reform here. I don't know, but we're going to have to go ahead and, you know, just take a chance.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. Yeah, I'm just going to drop it one more time in the chat for you guys to have it. And I'll be doing announcements and stuff coming up here real soon on the exact times and all that stuff. But yeah, we're planning on 3 p.m. Eastern next Wednesday. Now, we've got 15 minutes left here. Twitter's not even showing me how many people are watching or likes at this point. It's just
I've got
frozen.
5,084, 2.5 thousand likes.
Yeah, I definitely don't have that. So if you guys don't mind clicking thumbs blue, that would be great. Now let's get into the story here, man, because it's very important that we need to consider. You know, we know that the left, or whoever you want to call them, are going to lie about us, right? We're going to have.
Hold on, we had that one story that segues with the masks, and that's from the Daily Mail. That they say that people with psychopathic or narcissistic traits are less likely to follow the face mask rules.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, we can go at it from this direction. Okay, let me grab that article real quick. I'll drop it here in the chat for you guys. So what they're saying here is that you're crazy if you don't wear the mask. It's your fault. You're narcissistic. They're attacking you. That's how the left does things, right? Yeah. They attack you as the individual and make claims about you and stuff. You know, I don't consider us psychopathic or narcissistic. We might have, you know, individually, we might have a little bits of it here or there. You know, I don't claim to be not crazy, but here we are. They're making these points that if you're choosing not to wear a mask, then basically you're a jerk. I'll use a nice word here on Red Pill's show. So we've got it coming from that direction. But then what we've also seen is a very big uptick attacking this movement, the 17th letter of the alphabet, and they're really pushing in that direction. So particularly, I had tweeted out earlier, this BBC segment really hits home on what they're going to be pushing against us coming up to the election because of how important we are, you know, as far as helping get the information out there. Whatever October surprise stuff comes out, we're going to cover it. Durham report, any of that. We're gonna cover that the best we can. So in this tweet, let me grab it. I'll drop it into the chat. Shameless plug. I have the clip in here, and they hit the entire gambit of stuff that they accuse us of. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this now that we're seeing is that they're finding people that are family members of people that follow our favorite Anon, and they're basically interviewing them or finding screen caps. There's apparently a Reddit group about it, of, you know, how they feel like people who follow this movement, their family members are lost. Yeah. How they're not going to get them back. How that now they're painting them the victims. So your family members that don't listen to you think you're crazy. I know there's a lot of you listening right now deal with that. I've dealt with it myself with my sister. She thinks that I'm going directly down, you know, the deep end because I follow this stuff. That they are the victims and we are the monsters, and that's what they're going to be painting. And we've heard this before, but if you really go, and I suggest in this tweet, go to the actual BBC article, and I'll put that in here too, so you guys that don't use Twitter can definitely check it out. They don't hold back. They go on for a good 4 or 5 minutes showing everything, all their cards on how they're going to attack us. Now, what I do believe in the Red Pill, I want to get your 2 cents on all this. I do believe that we are going to have another thing happen in real life. It's something on the streets that's going to be tagged to us that's being planned right now, right? Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, they are in panic mode at this point. You saw right there on the screen, they initially said that, you know, this started here in the United States, but there has been a steady uptick in posts related to that content throughout
the majority of the Western world. It's increasing exponentially on a daily basis. More and more people are waking up to what's going on. More and more people are informed about the true nature of this world and what these people have done, how they have lied to us, and how they've essentially enslaved humanity. And they are losing control of the narrative at a degree to which they never have in the past. They are one step away from complete and utter destruction. And the only thing that I think that they can do is to create a horrific event, pin it on someone who would be part of the movement, and then blame it all on everyone else. And then also, they're going after us for not wanting to follow the mask rules and stuff, for saying that, we're not interested in following the herd. We have to be very, very cognizant of what's going on. And this is yet another reason why I suggest people be careful with what they post online, because you never know what they're going to do with that information. I mean, the internet's forever. Even if you delete it, somebody can archive that, and they can take a pattern of events throughout your tweets and then use it to spin a narrative and then blame you for something. Next thing you know, you're a patsy.
Yeah, and just to speak from my own experience here, when it comes to, like, for example, Miss Methods, everybody knows that she supports what I do here. She kind of follows things a little bit, but she's definitely not like hopping on 8kun or anything like that, and doesn't watch the news at all. I pick and choose what I talk to her about that's relevant, right? I know if I were to cover everything, even all the topics we've covered on the show, she would tune me out. We've been together almost a decade. We love each other, but she's not trying to spend her time listening to all that stuff. I know what's important. So I pick and choose, not my battles, because we aren't battling each other, but I pick and choose what I bring to the table with her. And I'm just using that as an example to do the same thing with your family members. If you take it all the way to, deep state, underground, Vatican, conspiracy theory, reptilian stuff to family members, they are going to probably think you're crazy, but picking and choosing what gets covered, like what Durham brings up coming up, different situations like this, like the mask stuff and what's been said before, and explain why you question it, instead of just saying things like, masks are not, we don't need them, it's just control by the left, it's, it's tyranny and all that. Show them the clip of Fauci, show them the clips of people saying you don't need it, and say, well, this is why I question the narrative, and then say, what do you think about it, and create the dialogue. Now, this is just my 2 cents. Go about it. Each situation is different, but pick and choose what you talk about with people, especially with the upcoming months, because if your family doesn't know what this movement is, they're going to know very soon, because the left is going to definitely try to use it against Trump. And we have to be very careful on how we handle narratives and speculations. I'm not saying silence ourselves, but focus. My 2 cents, what I'm asking people is to focus on the most important things that have to do with this time now. And the other things we can definitely get to come 2021, stuff like that. We don't know what's going to make it relevant. But when you're trying to red pill family members and friends, I'd focus on what's most important, especially around this election.
Sure. Now, Real Change in the chat said that I was giving the other side ideas. Please don't be naive, okay? I'm not the smartest person on the face of the earth. I may have a certain level of intelligence, but just because I'm saying it right now, it doesn't mean that I'm the first person who's ever thought of this stuff. These people have thousands of people, thousands of minds working solely on this stuff, okay? They have contingency plans for contingency plans. I am not the first person to have this idea that this stuff could be used against us. I am telling you guys, just in case somebody out there watching the show hasn't thought about it themselves. I don't want to assume that everybody out here has, considered the different ways that people might use our posts against us. Okay. This is not a new phenomenon. These people have had this type of stuff taking place for generation after generation. Okay. They are experts in psyops. They are experts in spinning our own lives against us, okay? There are probably things that some of us have had happen in our lives that we didn't think anybody knew about, and these people already know about it. They've already got a file, all right? It's just the way that it goes. I'm just asking everybody to be ready for it and just to be cognizant of it.
Yeah, but I mean, to me, what we're going to have coming up the next several months, we're going to have to, stick together even more. They're going to be taking out accounts. It's the whack-a-mole of taking out anons right now on all social media. We all have backup plans. We all have different ways to get around information, but it's definitely not about the person. We don't need, I know we should consider this movement entirely leaderless. It should be the enigma that it is. Now, I do see those top favorite influence, whatever lists that I at least see on Twitter. I'm not even really fond of being included in those because it's not about who it is. It's about the information itself. If you like somebody's opinion or how they do things, that's fine. But right now, this is the most important thing to do, is to focus on the information at hand as it comes out, taking apart the narratives, helping people understand why it's way more important to get Trump in office, than allowing, even for it to be close. We definitely need to go after everybody, making sure that they understand what's at stake here. And then I just ask for everybody to use discernment the best you can on what kind of information you bring to the person. Think about who they are, what they're into, what about Trump do they not like, and then come at it from that direction and say, well, what about this, that, and the other, and try to find common ground. But this is that time over the next several months, because we need to have Trump come November 3rd voted in, because the games can entirely change. As soon as he is, and we're going to speak it into existence here, as soon as he is elected, the game's changing because they know that he is completely unchained because he's not dealing with the election right now. He doesn't have to anymore. So there's going to be an entirely new game there. So save certain things for, certain situations, but we are going to be in for what we've been trained for and fighting to understand and adapt with is the next several months. This is the time that we've been trained for.
Absolutely. And, this is a perfect time to say that, adaptation and changing our tactics is something that is absolutely necessary at this point. I don't want to see any of you get deleted. I certainly don't want to get deleted. And like I said, my behavior has resulted in certain outcomes, and so far I've been safe. And that's what I would suggest everybody do. I've also seen many people all the time, this stuff makes me angry, and I'm going to go ahead and speak out. Okay, do so at your own peril. There are ways that you can speak out. There are ways that you can address certain concerns, and then there are other ways that you can address them. And there are definitely going to be certain ways that are safer than others. So please, I hope that everybody can keep their wits about them, because we need each and every one of you come November. And it's not just at the ballot box. We need everyone's presence online to be able to represent, to open minds, to have coherent arguments, and be able to offer up information and help bring people over to the right side. So I don't want to see anybody disappearing.
Right, absolutely. And also, I want to take this moment, and I know I could speak for Red Pill here. I'm proud of you guys. We are very proud of you guys. Be proud of yourselves, of how far we've become, come. And I know there's some people out there that are listening that might be new to this whole situation that we've been following. But a lot of us have been around for the last 3 years, or even over the last year or two. And I'm just very proud to look back at how far we've come. To the point that we are attacked on this level, to where BBC is making segments with graphics and charts and interviews, and and that's not just them. That's just that's not isolated. There's so many happening now all the time, and they're going to continue. Those are our badges of honor. If your account gets taken down in this time and you've just been speaking truth and trying to get the information out there, badge of honor. If it happens to me, badge of honor. That be proud of what you're a part of, because they're terrified of it. Because if you think about the reasoning why, because I see a lot of people say this, they'll say, why do they want to attack a movement that just ask everybody to think for themselves? If we're a cult, why do we want people to make their own decisions? That's in your head. It doesn't line up, because it's not true. We do want everybody to think for themselves. We are not a cult. And just be proud of what you're a part of, because we're definitely proud of everybody. I don't care, small account, big account, YouTube channel, Parler, Reddit even, and I make fun of Reddit all the time. we are proud of you guys, and make sure that we take this over the finish line and even further. But let's get through this election.
I completely agree. Yes, couldn't have said it any better myself. All right, guys. Well, we have reached the end of our regularly scheduled broadcast. So I want to say once again, thank you, everybody. Echoing Methods, I am super proud of you guys, and I want to just say thank you for joining us on this journey. I think we're in the midst of a formative change here in the United States, and we're on the cusp of something truly great. We've accomplished so much over the course of the last 3.5 years. It's time to bring it home. We do not want to allow these people to take us down. We don't want to allow them to ruin it for future generations. They've been trying for several years, about 50, 60 years, and we finally are in a position where we can unseat them. We hold tremendous power, and with tremendous power comes tremendous responsibility. So never, ever forget that. All right, 100%, guys.
But before we jump off here, I wanted to slip this in. 412's having on Dilly and, quite frankly, our buddies for taking it back here in an hour. I'm dropping the link in the chat for you guys. Make sure you go over there and flood their chat and say hello. I just want to make sure you guys got something to watch after this.
Yeah, I just saw Conscience Abe in the chat too, you guys. If you haven't subscribed to Abe, make sure you go ahead and do that as well. Everybody over at 5x5, it's a great broadcast. Okay, so just over 4,600 people here, still 3,000 likes. Don't forget to hit that thumb up on your way out the door. We really appreciate it. I will be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. And then this weekend, of course, we have another exciting lineup of people who we're going to be interviewing. On Friday, my friend Patrick Ryan is going to be here. We're going to be talking about Chiliad. This is the government program written by the Maxwell sisters. It's going to be a really bang-up show, you guys. Make sure you're here. And then on Saturday night, Ann Vandersteel is going to be here with me. We're going to be talking about the heartbreaking story of a father who had his children stolen by Swedish child, or maybe it's Swiss Child Protective Services. You're going to cry once you hear the story, guys, but it's something that needs to be told. This guy needs our help, and if there's anything we can do, I want to go ahead and do that. And then don't forget, on Sunday, the return of Mark Taylor. As always, good luck and God bless, guys. We'll see you.